reporting about the grave foreign interference threats in the last two elections wasn't necessarily founded. Things maybe weren't as dire as they were portrayed. If she lands in the same place, there are going to be questions about why we did all this. At the same time, though, the other key takeaway at this inquiry is how subjective intelligence is. And that opens the possibility that a totally different person with a fresh set of eyes might land in a different place. And I have noticed, as this inquiry has gone on, that where you stand has depended on where you sit on this. There are some people who are very skeptical of CSIS and intelligence, and have seen it all through that lens. There are some people that are very skeptical about this government and its motivations, and have seen everything at this inquiry through that lens, almost like two teams looking at this. And they have each found things as the hearings have gone along to kind of reinforce their pre-existing views. So again, over to you, Judge. What do you think?
On that note, do we have any heads up, leaks? What's the word on the ground? I mean, what are we expecting to learn from these reports?
Good. On the leaks, no. Although we know that the government and the parties were sort of given this in advance, and then we head into the lockup later this morning to read it. To be clear, we don't even know if we're getting recommendations today. She isn't obligated to come up with kind of big takeaway recommendations until her final report at the end of the year. But I think there's some key parts of her discussion that most of us will be looking to see. For example, what does she think about this threshold that the senior civil servants put in place before they'd sound any warnings on that? Was it too high, as some opposition groups have suggested? Were they too resistant to say anything, too afraid to rock the boat? Did they sort of insist on consensus? Were they fearful of meddling in the election without definitive proof? But was the possibility of definitive proof ever possible for them? Should they have been more aware of local riding concerns, not just the national perspective? I think also, remember, David Johnston had some powerful things to say about information sharing and whether the way intelligence was communicated was adequate. During the specific testimony here, we heard examples about CSIS getting things wrong, about CSIS having to recall information, and how that played into skepticism, frankly, in the Prime Minister's office about what they were hearing, and a lot of pushback, maybe resistance to taking on board maybe some of the messages they were receiving. We also heard, though, from the perspective of the intelligence agencies, some exasperation, right? David Vigneault saying, I feel I've communicated again and again and again what these threats are, and a concern that maybe the government hasn't been responsive when those things are.
Janice, just to remind us, the foreign actors that we know meddled in the elections.
Right, because David Johnston's report was very much focused on China, and specific reporting that had talked about actions by proxy agents or Chinese Communist Party officials, specifically in 2019 in the riding of Don Valley North, but also in the greater Vancouver area in very specific ways in 2021 and online on Chinese language social media. Extraordinarily, though, through this inquiry, we also had some summaries of intelligence disclosed that have opened new conversations about meddling from India and meddling from Pakistan. That hadn't been on the table prior to this inquiry, and if sort of nothing else comes of it, I think at least this new line of sight on sort of meddling that other countries might have been doing has added to the equation and added to people's awareness that it isn't just one country specific. There was a controversy about whether it should be expanded to look at more than just China. I think seeing the evidence come forward has maybe vindicated the point of view that it was worth it to sort of cast a broader perspective.
We mentioned that this is the first report, and there's more reports coming. Why are we getting this bit by bit?
Yeah, I think that might also frustrate people as well, because there is urgency, right? Like, we are in a minority parliament. We could have an election soon. If you're going to take actions to fix this, like, get cracking, right? But this is a two-phase exercise. So the spring phase was just looking backwards at the 2019 and 2021 elections, trying to sort of fact find and come to some sense of what happened there and what to make of that. There is another phase to come in the fall. Some would say the more important phase, to really assess the capacities of these agencies to respond to future threats. That's about what to do now, what to do next, and how to fix anything that we're identifying this spring as having gone wrong. with an eye to sort of final recommendations from her by the end of the year. But I think, and it's interesting, in the submissions to her, we had some people saying, don't make final recommendations until the things that are going to come out in the fall have come out. And then we heard other people saying, please start making some interim recommendations so we can get cracking at fixing this. I don't know whether her report is going to have some tentative suggestions on sort of an interim to-do list, but there certainly is a reason to not wait until the end of the year before taking some of this on.
Is it possible that the Liberal Party itself could be implicated in these findings in this interim report?
I think there's still a lot of questions about what to make of the accusations that the Liberals were resistant to acting here out of self-interest. That said, the intelligence summaries that were put before us were very clear about how, for example, with China's meddling, it was party agnostic. It was just opportunistic in local ridings based on specific candidates they thought could be pro-China or anti-China, and it wasn't necessarily about favoring one party. And remember, the Liberal relationship with China in the last two elections was anything but warm and cozy. We know that the Liberals didn't act based on what they were told in 2019 about Don Valley North because they didn't judge it to be serious or even accurate. We don't know, though, exactly what the party was briefed in 2021. We do know that the Prime Minister, in his capacity as Liberal leader, wasn't told that information until after the election. But we actually don't know the subject matter of what was flagged to the Liberals during the 2021 election. We'll see if maybe there's a hint of that in this report. But was it even about China? Was it about something else? There's still a lot of questions around that.
Now, my last question, Janice, in our final minute here is, we're talking about this in Ottawa. This is seemingly a really Ottawa conversation. Do we have any sense of whether the rest of Canada is paying as close attention to this in terms of getting answers about the last two elections?
I don't know if it's a geography question or if it's a question of certain communities in certain places, diaspora communities particularly, feeling this issue far more keenly maybe than someone like me might. Because if there's anything that came through the inquiry, it's that foreign meddling and attempts by other countries to threaten and harass diaspora communities, that's not just something that happens during an election. And I think if you're in Greater Vancouver, for example, and you're listening to Chinese media and dealing with some of the effects to sort of perpetuate pro-China propaganda on the ground in that city, for example, this is very real and very much a part of your reality.
Thank you so much, Janice.
You're welcome.
It's Janice McGregor, senior reporter with the CBC's Parliamentary Bureau. star Tim McGraw tonight, 11 minutes before 8 o'clock. It has been a record-breaking week for Atletico Ottawa. On Wednesday night, the club set a Canadian championship record, scoring the most goals ever in one game and winning by the largest margin ever with a shutout win, 7-0 against Winnipeg's Valor FC.
Buster got to get there, might be a 7. Should have been a 7, might still be. Here's Duncan, which got to Ottawa House 7. It's not a typo. 2 for knockout mode. Atletico Ottawa lead Valor, but it was officially a rout. By 7.
Officially a rout. The win advances Atletico to the championship quarterfinals, to place on Wednesday. Right now, the team is ranked number 2 in the league behind Hamilton's Forge FC. And this morning, 2 of Atletico's local players, both born in Ottawa, raised in Barrhaven, join me in studio. Matteo Debrian is the team's left back. He was on the field for Wednesday's big win. And joining him is a brand new player, midfielder Luca Piccioli. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in at this early hour. Matteo, have you come down from that game on Wednesday?
It's, one of those moments that is still hard to forget. It's one of those exciting things for the city and for the club. So, it's one of those that, we're very excited for.
Were you guys looking at each other going, is this happening?
Oh my gosh. I don't think we expected it either. It was one of those things where we know we have, a team of great quality, but I think, 7-0 was something that is very hard to do in football, and we managed to accomplish that. So.
I'm imagining that maybe once or twice before when you were like this high, you had a score like that.
Definitely, yeah.
And how important is it to have a win like that so early in the season?
I think it builds confidence for our fan base as well, knowing that, we have a lot of quality and we're capable of putting balls in the back of the net. So hopefully it just means that more people want to come out and, enjoy a show.
Luca, you joined the club just a few weeks ago, becoming the first Carlton Raven to sign a U Sports contract with Atletico in April. How does it feel to join your hometown team?
It's a dream come true. It's more than anything I could ever ask. And on top of that, the team is so incredible. Sorry, I'm going to clear my voice.
Yeah. Did you phone home and say you're not going to believe what's happening? I mean,
we kind of all experienced it together, like with the draft. We were hoping with my family that something would come of it, and I was able to tell them all kind of sneakily. I kind of surprised them all, and it was quite an experience, yeah.
They're going to be in the stands every home game.
Yeah, every single one.
How will that affect your play?
I think that'll just give me an extra boost. I think having my family there, it's something I've had for most of my career, even not professional. And it's always given me an extra boost knowing that my family's there supporting me, cheering me on, and I just want to make them proud and make the city proud. So,
you guys have played together before. Matteo, what was your reaction when you heard that Luca was signing with Atletico?
It was a surreal thing to hear. I still remember the moment where we were in Mexico for preseason, and I knew he had a meeting with the coach, and so as soon as that meeting was done, I shot him a text right away, and I was like, "Hey, Luca, do you want to talk about it? How was it?" And he's like, "I'll tell you when I see you." And then when I saw him, he gave me the good news, and it was just one of those moments that, I'm very excited to finally be back with him, and, hopefully we can share the stage together.
Now, did he give you advice when you signed with the team?
I mean, Luke is one of those players who, even since Carlton, has given me great advice, and even now, playing as a pro, he's one of those guys that I still, look up to, and he really helps me a lot with, any of my needs.
Luca, I wanna play a little clip for you, so take a listen to this. This is what Matteo had to say in a video posted to the Atletico Ottawa YouTube channel after you were signed.
So, I'm very excited that he's finally a part of this team, and I get to play alongside a great friend and teammate of mine. He's one of those guys who's helped me along my way as a pro, and so, to be fair, he's always the one helping me out rather than the other way around.
I like the music track underneath that. So, how does it feel to hear that?
It's an extreme confidence booster for me, being so close with Matteo. It's very nice to hear that, but he's also too kind. He flatters me too much, and I don't know how much I really help him. We do talk a lot, so as much as I help him, he helps me, so I think it's a great relationship in that respect.
Now, I imagine you guys playing together when you were Timbit age. I'm sorry, I'm losing the soccer reference here, but there are actually 3 years between you, so that matters when you're coming up as kids. You didn't play together when you were wee, but then both of you earned opportunities to play elite soccer when you were in your early teens. Matteo, you went to Vancouver. Luca, you went to Montreal. When did the two of you finally meet and play and click?
We finally met. It was 2020 in the summer before the 2021 season at Carleton. We kind of met through a mutual friend. His name's Dario, and we went to the field together at one point just to get some training before the season started. And we, I think it was that at the field, we were both like, yeah, I'm going to Carleton. And he said he's going to Carleton. I was like, oh, wait, well, I guess we're going to be teammates then.
And you guys clicked in a major way. You made it all the way to the national final that year, 2021.
Correct.
What do you remember most about that year?
That year, I mean, it's a bit heartbreaking, but there's some special moments there in the final.